Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles pregame show, a huge one tonight in Arlington. Wulf, Jamie Lynch here in Philadelphia to talk through all the matchups. We will hear from Zach Berman, who was live in Jerry World in just a few minutes. But Jamie, Eagles-Cowboys, second time in about 5 weeks. A huge game now where the Eagles have a chance to stay atop the NFC with a win, or if you lose, you wake up tomorrow morning, you're second place in the NFC East in the standings. We have talked about this week that may not necessarily be indicative of who controls their own destiny heading into things, but the Niners would be atop the NFC, a huge game that sort of closes this very, very difficult stretch that we all circled when the season started.
Yeah, it really does. And I oddly think it's a much more important game for the Cowboys, because if they don't win this tonight, they're guaranteed the wild card.
You kiss the division goodbye.
Yeah,
yes.
And then that means you're going to have to go to Philadelphia and San Francisco, or San Francisco and Philadelphia to get to a Super Bowl. And that's a damn near impossible task, 2 road games of that magnitude. So it's a huge one for the Dallas Cowboys tonight. They've kind of owned us down in Dallas the past couple years.
Not since 2017 had the Eagles won down there.
Yeah, one of those years got some assistance from the referees, but that's okay. Dak Prescott,
first play of the game.
Yeah. Dak Prescott plays really well against the Eagles.
He does. There's no doubt about that. He is a very good player.
He is,
and a chance for him to make an MVP case tonight. Lamar Jackson did his work this afternoon. Obviously, Jalen Hurts still in the mix. I mean, I think some people who aren't really paying attention think that Brock Purdy's in the mix, but we'll have a different conversation about that another time. 5 weeks ago, when these two teams met, the Eagles win 28-23, a game that we all remember came down to the wire. The Eagles offense almost sort of giving the ball away on that late fumble, and then Josh Sweat getting the game-winning sack with the Cowboys close to the Eagles' end zone with a chance to maybe sneak away with a win there. In that game, Dak Prescott threw for almost 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jamie, CeeDee Lamb went nuts. Jake Ferguson had a big game. Do you expect any different sort of type of defensive game plan going up against CeeDee Lamb in this game? Because they didn't really treat him like a special player in that game.
Yeah, they lined him up to get favorable matchups in that game. If I remember, they tried to get him on Eli Ricks a bunch. They move him around.
Eagles did not have Bradley Roby in that game.
That's true. Something that the Eagles offense doesn't do, which is motion and moving guys. They move CeeDee Lamb around a lot. Now, I'm excited to talk to Zach and see maybe how they were using Leonard, because we don't have Nicholas Morrow this time around. And,
I think you're still going to get a little bit of Morrow, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully. Yeah, unfortunately, we probably will. But, if I'm Mike McCarthy coming off of, appendix surgery? What did he have?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Not so groovy, baby.
Yeah. I'd be doing everything I could to get CeeDee Lamb matched up on some of the linebackers in the middle of the field.
Yeah, I think it will be curious to see what Sean Desai does game plan-wise against CeeDee Lamb in this game. You've got Bradley Roby. You can use Darius Slay to follow him a little bit. And really, like those other wide receivers, Brandon Cooks has been coming on of late, but those other guys have not been super dangerous. I think once again, just like it was last week, the middle of the field, a big factor for the Eagles on defense in this game after giving up 6 straight touchdown drives to the Niners last week. Yeah. All of a sudden, you insert Shaq Leonard and hope that makes a difference.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect. Maybe 30, 35 snaps, something like that.
Sounds about right.
You know, maybe 50% of the game, I think, is a fair expectation. It's a very low bar that he has to clear. So
the Eagles also getting Zach Cunningham back, which is probably for this game only even bigger news than the Leonard debut.
Yeah, the less Nicholas Morrow in pass coverage, the better, because that dude got cooked last week. It'll be interesting. How does Byard come in? And, Jake Ferguson's been a pretty good tight end for them lately. And, he probably is their second option in the passing game, I would say.
Yeah.
The linebackers, once again, are going to play a pretty big
Boy, it
role
would
in
be
this
nice
game.
to have Christian Ellis in this game, wouldn't it?
I did mean to ask you. Are you okay?
No, I'm not okay at all. I think the Cowboys are going to win this game by 50 points. Yeah. You throw away your.
What do we
Christian.
call the post-Christian era? Do we give it some abbreviations?
Yeah, I mean it's AD, right? This is
the Eagles AD.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll hear from Zach in a few minutes, but before we do that, how about the other side of the ball here, Jamie? Jalen Hurts coming off one of his worst games of the season. Did not seem like he was seeing things clearly or getting rid of the ball on time. This is the now third time that he's gotten a chance to play against Dak Prescott. And as Deniz made the point on Friday, we know that the last time he was in Dallas, because he didn't get to start there last year, was a game that got blown out, and it's a one that he remembers. And so Jalen Hurts has had all of these games where he's got a chance to sort of make up for a bad memory. He has not lost 2 games in a row since 2011 or 2021 rather. Do you expect a bounce back game for Jalen Hurts?
I do. I kind of feel like this is going to be a little shootoutish. If I was a betting man, I would take the over tonight.
Okay.
I do think Jalen,
but not among your best bets, because those are.
No,
I mean, those are stone cold locks.
I'm not going to ruin the sanctity of those with an over bet. But I do think Jalen's going to answer the bell. I think this is going to be a high scoring affair, and I think Jalen's going to look better. He's got to get rid of the ball. Like last week was just, it was too much. Make a decision or run. You know, Nick Bosa claims that they put the blueprint out there. Well, you know, I hope not. And I think his ability to, you know, light that blueprint on fire is his legs. Because when all else fails, I think that's something that, you know, not everybody in the league can do what he does. So I hope to see a little bit more of that if he's holding the ball. Like,
right.
You just can't, like the play of the game last week was the trip when he was just looking and looking and holding and holding.
Huge play. Yeah.
It was a huge play. So hopefully he either takes off or gets rid of it. Just be a little more decisive tonight, and I think he'll be all right.
And then the big change dynamic on offense is you get Dallas Goedert back for this game after he missed 3 games. Obviously, you know, one of the problems with Jalen Hurts last week was he was not throwing the ball to guys who were not Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown when they were wide open. And so to have the third guy in the offense who he trusts changes the sort of the shape of things in the passing game.
Yeah, it felt like, because for some reason they don't really use Swift in the passing game at all, which I don't really understand. Because they always view it as an extension of the running game. It seems like he doesn't really have those safety kind of valve plays to rely on this year. And those typically should be the Swift and Goddard kind of combination plays. Right. So hopefully, you know, having Goddard back, you know, brings the offense back to life.
Let's say you're like a just a deranged sicko, and you are somehow within driving distance of Arlington, Texas, and you have been deciding whether or not you want to buy tickets to this game until right this very moment. You could still do it if you go to Game Time, because buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. They've got flash deals and last-minute tickets. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event, just minutes before the game. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price, and if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we're going to hear from Zach shortly. Sounds like we may have him now. That little sloop move, that little sounder, means that we do have Zach Berman live from AT&T Stadium, Jerry World. Zach, first and foremost, have you had the mac and cheese?
It's good speaking to you guys. Yes, I did have the mac and cheese for the service of the show, of course, not for my own edification, although it is as good as advertised. It is I don't want to say the highlight of covering these games, but it is outstanding. Every year, 12 years here, The mac and cheese never fails.
So are we saying number one food item for the beat reporters in the NFL?
Oh, without a doubt.
I
On this
think so,
circuit,
yeah.
the mac and cheese is legendary. I'm not one who can comment on on like illegal drugs, but this is what I imagine illegal drugs are like. Like this is this
Zach's
mac and
balls
cheese.
on the mac and cheese.
This mac and cheese is blissful.
Wow, how about that? All right, Zach. Let's get to a couple parts of this matchup. Let's start with Shaq Leonard. What is your expectation for his role in the defense in this game? Do you think he's going to play when they are in base defense, when they're in nickel defense, and they've got two linebackers on the field? Is he going to be the guy with Zach Cunningham more often than not?
But what I can tell you is during pregame warmups, it was Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham with the starters, and then thereafter. It was obviously Shaq Leonard and Ben Van Sumeren. Now, of note, Shaq Leonard was playing the same spot as Nicholas Morrow was with the first team. So that's kind of the scene from the pregame warmups. What I can tell you is that I am expecting Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham to be the top linebackers in this game, but I do think there are going to be packages for Shaq Leonard, and I can see that growing, frankly, depending on the game circumstance, right? I think they go in with a plan, and look, they got to be mindful of his body here. But Shaq Leonard has played this year, right? It's not like he's been on the street the whole year. And they had Bradley Roby come in and have a role from day one. They traded for Kevin Byard, and he started from day one. I understand linebacker might be a different position, but I am expecting Shaq Leonard to play more than maybe some of the early indications are. I don't think they're going to throw everything at him, but I can see him playing more than maybe some of like the pregame reporting would suggest.
So Zach, on the other side of the ball, the Eagles are getting somebody else back that's pretty big to the offense in Dallas Goedert. Are we expecting a full workload, 100% go, normal snap count, or do you think that's something they're monitoring?
Yeah, I'm expecting no restrictions on Dallas Goedert. He's been pining to play. I think there was hope that he could potentially play against San Francisco. Obviously wasn't out there, but I'm expecting to see the full workload for Dallas Goedert. I understand that, the forearm there, it did take some time, but he's been able to run. Like an arm injury, you're still on your feet. So I don't think there's any issue with conditioning. I don't think there's any issue whatsoever. I'm expecting the full Dallas Goedert workload.
Zach, what about Jalen Hurts in this game? We talked about it a little bit on Friday. Deniz brought up the last time he got to play in this stadium and the sour feeling that left in his mouth. What has been your vantage point of like his week this week, and how confident are you that he's going to bounce back in this game?
Well, the evidence is there that Jalen Hurts has far more good games than bad games, right? And so I think last week was an outlier, and I think he's played well against this defense before. When I look at that first game, what jumps out is the efficiency. Like it wasn't this standout performance, but he completed. I think he was 17 of 23 in that game. He didn't turn the ball over. It was efficient. He did what they needed to do for him to win. I think it's gonna take more points to win this game tonight, and I think you're going to see a better Jalen Hurts performance. It is fair to bring up that game from 2 years ago. He obviously didn't play in the game last year, but that game did leave a sour taste in his mouth. Jalen Hurts tends not to forget it. To answer your question about what this week has been like, it's been a typical Jalen Hurts week. He's not one who is overstating the loss, nor overemphasizing the game that's coming up here. I asked him what the film showed him from the 49ers game. He said execution. And so that's kind of, he's not giving up much there. But this is a team that, Bo likes to use the term rabbit-eared, right? I mean, the team's own promotional video this week had all these national commentary about the team, and Jalen Hurts putting on headphones to tune it out. Quite literally, they're aware of what's being said about them, right? So I think even if they're making it seem like this is any other game, they were embarrassed at home last week to a really good football team. Now they're playing against a division rival on the road, the team that's won 14 games at 14 consecutive games at home, I imagine that the Eagles are kind of taking this personally, and that is a major emphasis this week.
So, Zach, if they're aware of what's being said about them, obviously they're aware of what the sign said outside the NovaCare this week of run the ball. Now, you can debate that until the end of time, philosophy-wise. But is Nick Sirianni throwing 3 straight Julio Jones screen passes an inevitable start to this game?
Well, the thing with the run the ball sign is that this is not new for Nick Sirianni. He's been here 2.5 years and he's used to that refrain. I don't think that's going to I don't think that sentiment is going to bleed into the way this team calls plays. I do think they're going to run the ball because they want to be able to run the ball. They want to be able to run the ball effectively. Like that is something that is a point of emphasis. You heard Lane Johnson talk about it this week, and I don't think they're going to come out like run. I think they're going to operate their offense the way they normally have. I don't think that's something that they're going to be rabbit-eared toward, but I do think they recognize that this offense is much better when they can get some momentum in the running game. And Professor Shellman brought up a good point the other day. The Eagles haven't had Dallas Goedert, Lane Johnson, and Cam Jurgens together, all 3 of them, since that Rams game, since the game on October 1st, that Washington game on October 1st, right? So you're looking at a stretch of 2 months, really, where they haven't played with these guys together. And I think that's going to benefit the run game especially.
Yeah, that's huge.
Now, Zach, one thing that people will notice when they watch this game is no Dom DiSandro on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
The league has barred him from the sidelines. Will the Eagles be safe on the field tonight?
Well, there are other security officials, but Dom is a major presence, literally and figuratively, right? Like he's, I've been covering this team for 12 years. I've never been to a game when Dom DiSandro is not there, like flanking the head coach, walking off the field with him.
Saved Jalen Hurts' life at FedEx Field.
Yeah, true. So it's not like a major storyline in the sense that it doesn't have an effect on the game the way like a player being absent would be, but it is notable. And John Clark from NBC Sports Philly put the video out of he's down out in the tunnel, and Dom DiSandro is literally like greeting the players as they're walking out on the field on the line at the field, right? So he can't go, it's like a border. He can't cross that border, but he'll get as close as he can. So he was greeting them, and from what I understand, Dom's doing all his typical game day, game travel security routines. He's been in all the meetings, everything that he does, all his responsibilities he's fulfilling, except literally being on the field. But just as an example of how this has become this huge national story, I was on ESPN.com on the plane yesterday, and I'm looking at the headlines. Yeah, flex. There you go. And it's like Ohtani signs 10 years, $700 million. Something about Kyrie Irving's injury, something about LeBron, and then it's Big Dom, Big Dom barred from the sideline. But it's just funny that like Big Dom's within the sports lexicon now. You're supposed to know Big Dom just the same way you're supposed to know LeBron and Kyrie and Ohtani. If you had told me a year ago that like Big Dom would be in the headlines with those guys, and it would just be understood that's Dom DiSandro, I would have been like, what happened here?
Well, it looked like Landon Dickerson walked in tonight like wearing a Big Dom outfit and like a green velour jumpsuit. I will
South Philly tuxedo, I think he calls it, right?
Yes. I will predict that if the Eagles win this game, I think the organization rather is very aware of how this schedule has played out in sort of an unfair way, just the way that it was designed. Like this is the second game in a row they're playing a team that's a very important game off extra rest for the opponent. They had this crazy stretch, like Big Dom getting kicked out. I think that you will hear a us against them, like we did this for Big Dom type thing if they win this game.
Yeah, maybe so. And for those who know Dom DiSandro, He is one who likes to wear cologne, so that sideline will not smell as good tonight as it typically does.
You saying he wears a heavy pour there, Zach?
He prides himself on smelling good. I think I think that's a good way of putting it. You'd much rather someone who smells good than smells bad.
Yeah. So Zach, I heard you and Bo talk about this week that you need more from the defensive line. I think there's some individual talents there that aren't collectively getting it done as a unit in terms of getting to the quarterback. Do you sense a possible ramp up in blitz packages tonight? Or is Sean Desai going to kind of rest on his laurels and trust those front four to get to the quarterback?
That's a good, so how are we classifying the blitz here? Like, they're having 5-man rushes, whether they're going to bring
more than 5,
linebackers and safeties. I don't think it's going to be as pronounced. It's a fair question. And by the way, like the between like run the ball and blitz, if they did both of those, I think Eagles fans would be so satisfied regardless of the result, because like that seems to be the answer to every loss, just run the ball and blitz. I don't know if they're going to blitz more. I mean, the thing is this: you don't want to be too exposed in coverage against Dak. He's making really good decisions this year, but you obviously want to force him to make quicker decisions, right? You gotta. The way I see it is they need Sweat and they need Reddick to get to the quarterback. They need this interior to win. I mean, they have so many talented players, and if they want to get off the field on third down, they got to get to the quarterback. So yeah, I can see some more pressure, but I don't think it's going to be the type of thing where we're talking about like the blitz being the determining factor in this game.
Yeah, and the truth is that they have not been very good when blitzing this season, which we know, and that the Cowboys' offensive line did a very good job against them in that first matchup. Yeah. Terrence Steele, the guy that they can sort of hunt in this game. Any final notes, Zach? Anything that you've seen there? Any sort of scene setting that you should give us before the game starts?
Well, I mean, I would say like this does have a big game feel. I say that typically coming to AT&T Stadium. As I said, 12 years coming here, except for the COVID year. It didn't come that year. But in those 12 seasons, this is the 7th primetime game of those 12 years. And then 2 of the non-primetime games were Christmas Eve and Thanksgiving in like their only time slot on those days. So, but just being, I was in Fort Worth. I was in the airport yesterday. Walking around the stadium today before the game, like this feels like a big game. It's certainly being viewed that way in Dallas. They have, as I was in a corridor and they had the home radio station piped in, and they were just talking about how significant this game is for the Cowboys to like win the division and push that high. I think Dallas views themselves like a heavyweight. I mean, just look at this. They've won 5 of their last 6 games. The only game in there that they lost was the Eagles game. I think in these last 3 games, they're averaging over 40 points per game. This is, I think in Dallas, they're looking at it like, man, this could be the year. And the Eagles are the team that they have to get through. The defending NFC champs, defending NFC East champs. So there's definitely that feeling there. As far as pregame warmups, I wasn't, they don't have their punt coverage or kickoff coverage out on the field. The only thing they do is, in terms of special teams, is field goal block, and field goal protection. But I am curious to see who fills that Christian Ellis role, because Ben Van Sumeren, like I said, was already out there. So who's new on special teams this week? Does Nicholas Morrow play more special team snaps? Is there a D back who gets more time on special teams? So I'm curious to watch that. But no, I would say this just does feel like a huge game. You can really get that sense being in Fort Worth, walking around the stadium today.
So Zach, last one from me. If Zach Berman could hook up one video game to the big screen at Jerry World, what video game are you sitting at midfield and playing?
NCAA 14 probably, because that's the last time there was a college football game. There'll be a new college football game this year coming up. Looking forward to that. And I would be Syracuse's head coach, and I would recruit a powerhouse. And so there wouldn't be as much game playing. There'd be more recruiting going on there.
Really making use of the video board. Love that.
Yeah, but that would probably be the game of choice. Although my son, Reed, he's getting into video games now, and so he likes to mix in between Madden and 2K and FIFA.
Wow.
So yeah, so there's a lot of that going on in the house right now. So
Nice.
he would have a kick out of this video board. I got to bring him here one day.
What do you make of the USC Matt Entz hire, Zach?
Yeah, assistant head coach for defense and linebackers coach, right? I mean, bold move going from 1AA to, but I'm surprised because his predecessor went straight to, he went to Kansas State. The predecessor before that went to Wyoming. So I'm surprised he didn't get a head coaching job.
Well, there you go. All right, Zach Berman, who is high AF on mac and cheese in Arlington, Texas. We'll talk to you after the game. Enjoy things from that beautiful vantage point, Zach, and thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, and the mac and cheese, it is as good as advertising. I will stand by that comment.
All right, good stuff from Zach. And now we get to someone who is, Zach is as good as it gets, but also as good as it gets is Jamie's best bet.
Can I just say I'm floored by the NCAA 14 answer. I would have thought Zach went nostalgic, like pre this generation of video games.
Yeah, I could have seen him going for like NBA Jam or but like he is a college football boy.
Yeah,
and he gets enough NFL in his life. I feel like
it was a great game. The game itself was great. I thought he was going to go back to little Zach Berman, like 8 years old. So it surprised me a little bit. We learned a little something about.
Yeah, I wonder what all the Berman boys played growing up. We'll have to follow up on that this week. All right, Jamie, our two best bets. You have been just on fire all season long.
Yes, a 1-1 last week for me though, which was not good enough.
The standard is the standard.
The rent is due every day. Yes. So, would you like me to kick it off?
Sure, where I can go. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I will start. I went with a couple lower, interest players here. Okay, I think that Quez Watkins, who looked a little bit spry, I thought last week in an offense that like Julio Jones has been plotting around. Olamide Zaccheaus, for whatever reason, Jalen Hurts just does not throw him the ball. With Dallas Goedert back, and all of a sudden the field is spread a little bit more. I think like all it takes is one completion to Quez Watkins for like 16 yards. And I think that they will take at least one deep shot to Quez Watkins in this game. So give me Quez Watkins over 13.5 receiving yards at -105. And then to the rabbit-eared run the ball stuff. It was interesting last week. DeAndre Swift did not like play 80% of the snaps.
No.
They once again, it felt like Kenny Gainwell's role was creeping up just a little bit. And so I'm taking Kenny Gainwell over 9.5 rushing yards, -105 here. I feel like the market is sort of zeroing in on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and the big players in this game. I'm going to go kind of stupid here. And I'm going to take Kenny Gainwell over 9.5 rushing yards. Big prediction.
I like that Quez Watkins one a lot because I think when he does get his play, it's typically like a bigger downfield type of play. So for mine, I'm going to put my neck on the line with Dak Prescott, and I hate this. But the last two times he's faced the Eagles, he's gone for 347 and 374. So for me, it feels
I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, over 301.5. Is the number.
Aside from the Niners, who did it very well, like this team can just get thrown on. They don't even try to run the ball.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of teams don't even attempt running the ball against the Eagles, so it's just going to be an aired out game. So I'm going to go Dak over 301.5, laying the -115 there. And then I think Devontae's number is low enough that it just kind of like when I was scanning, it jumped out to me a little bit. 55.5 yards.
Like, why is that so low? It feels so low.
I guess maybe he probably lost some yards to Goddard. Coming back,
right.
But to me, like Devontae Smith getting 60 yards seems like it's pretty easy. So that's what I'm going with.
Feels
for
like
my
easy
two.
Money.
It does. It almost feels too easy. So sometimes they get
-115. So I guess that's why priced in. But yeah.
So I'm going to roll with those two.
Tonight.
I hate putting a Dak one out there, but a good bet's a good bet.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, absolutely.
The rent is due every day.
Every single day.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on your mind before we get to predictions?
I don't like the way I feel about this.
Yeah, I mean, I just like you try to guard against recency bias. You try to think, okay, like don't overreact to what happened last week. But some of the dynamics that like led to the result last week, they're playing this crazy schedule week after week after week is against a heavyweight. The other team has extra rest. The other team is very good on the line of scrimmage. All of those things are at play again tonight, and they're on the road in a place where Dallas plays very well.
And I think you
there's
can
a
make the
reason
case
that they are underdogs.
that the game's more important to Dallas.
I like that. I think that's a good point.
They know they're the wild card tonight, and I think that it's hard to quantify those types of things on the line, but I do feel that if you're gonna go to the Super Bowl, getting a 1 or 2 seed is pretty imperative, and if they can't do that after tonight, it's a lot to play for. It's a lot on the line, and I feel like the Eagles just have this mentality of like, oh, the last 3-4 games of the year, it's a cakewalk. So like.
It sets up that way.
Yeah, it's almost like they got it in their back pocket of like I don't know. It's just like a weird cross section of the two teams right now. So I think it means more to them.
And so does that mean you're taking the Cowboys?
I am. I hate it. I wanted to take the Niners last week, but like a coward here on air with the good people, the sickos of the world.
Sure, yeah.
I flipped. I got hype. In the pregame.
It's hard not to play to the crowd.
Yeah. So I went with the Eagles last week, and I regretted it all week. And I felt like this was a Cowboys game all week. And I'm not going to flip-flop on myself. So I'm gonna take the Cowboys winning 34-28.
All right.
I hate myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mom.
Listen, we have seen this Eagles team bounce back before.
Sure.
The last time they lost, they had the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football, and they had probably their best all-around game of the season. Coming off a loss this week, I don't think it's crazy to think that they could do that again in Dallas. Unfortunately, as I said on Friday's show, the fact that they waived Christian Ellis means that they have turned their back on God, and I expect retribution in a big way. And so for all the people in the chat talking about whether I should shave my head or not, you're going to lose this game. The Cowboys are going to win 70-9 in this game. A laugher. And the Eagles get what they deserve for moving on from Christian Ellis. So, sorry. There you go. But either way, we're going to be here to talk about it after the game.
A plague, a flood. What are we getting here?
Yeah, locusts dropping down. We'll see what happens. But I think it's going to be an interesting game. I can't wait to watch it.
I think it's going to be high scoring for sure. I think this is a quarterback game.
I think so too. And I need to see a little something from the Eagles defense after last week.
Yeah, get off the field on a fucking third down, would you?
I mean, dead last in the league on third down. So let's see what happens. But looking forward to it. Enjoy the game, everybody. We will be here to talk about it immediately when the game is over here on PHLY. So for all of us here at PHLY, we thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. And as always, we love you.